There were many ways last week's game could have gone, all of them against the Titans. Few of us in our darkest, most pessimistic moments would have thought Colt McCoy is going to rally this team to a victory. But that's where we are. It's hard to see the arc of time when you're living in the moment, but we are in the middle of a rebuilding period whether Titans fans realize it or not. Talking about the playoffs may need to wait until 2016 at least. It's Zach Mettenberger time, which will make the drunken crazy woman at the last home game happy.
And it was not me.
So we have Sharona in here, and we have Jody Smith. Let me introduce him. Jody Smith is a fantasy expert, and he has the trophy to prove it. No, that's not the coveted Fall Pumpkinator from St. Arnold's Brewery. He is 2012's most accurate fantasy expert, according to Fantasy Pros, and he's the only human being in the world who's actually sent me a beer care package. Jody Smith has agreed to come on and be our Know Your Enemy counterpart to talk Titans Texans, aka the day that fantasy value died. How you doing, Jody?
I'm doing wonderful actually. How you guys doing?
Pretty good, Jody. Thanks for joining us.
I just had like a Michigan beer.
Sharona, when I joined Zach last time, by no means am I a Titans hater. If anything, I related more to the Titans for the longest time because back in '96 when I lost my Houston Oilers, which is the only team I've ever really loved, I followed them for a few years, and then when they got Vince Young, that's my boy there, I was like, all right, this is going to be my team, the Titans. But as my writing career kind of progressed, and I spent less and less time on any individual teams, it just became more of a, I'm just kind of impartial now, but, I do follow the Texans more than any team, just for no other reason than that, that's all the local radio here. But.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that, Jody. I definitely can. Now, were you on the Bud Adams hater wagon, or did you, or were you kind of cool with Bud?
I didn't necessarily have any problems with him. He had threatened many years ago to move the Oilers out of town if they didn't take down the famous scoreboard in the Astrodome, the one that had the Cowboys, and it was out there in the outfield. And that was kind of a Houston landmark, if anything.
Right.
But he wanted more seats, and they took them out, the scoreboard to placate Bud. And then before you knew it, he started wanting a new stadium again, and I think at that point the taxpayers of Harris County had said, we've had enough, and they called his bluff, so to say, and he took the team out of town. Around Houston, there probably was a lot of ill will towards Bud Adams and all that, but like you asked me personally, I understood. It was a business, and he was in it to make money, and he did what he felt was right.
That relationship had really soured, hadn't it, between him and the city? Yeah.
It was an issue of the taxpayers giving him what he wanted, which was to remodel the Astrodome to make him happy, and then a few years later, here he is wanting more, and they just said, we've had enough, and, well, the rest is history. But it got you guys a football team, so I guess it worked out for everyone.
It did, but, we're already going through that here in Tennessee. Bud came to the LP Field. I still want to call it Adelphia. LP Field has been in need of some renovations and some work being done to it. So I can relate. I can understand. It's but it's hard to lose to a professional team like that. I know a lot of old Oilers fans were really mad and upset about it, and of course, it didn't help that they already had that soured relationship over Bum Phillips.
Oh yeah, you're going back to the Love You Blue era for the Oilers. I really enjoyed the early to mid '90s era of the Oilers football because they were a hated team. When they brought the Bring the Pain to the Astrodome, they had Jerry Glanville, and then they moved on to Jack Pardee. But at that point, they were a fearsome and feared team, and that was a lot of fun because around the league they were hated. And I always will say, never discount how much it's important to hate a team because, in my opinion, right now the NFL is a much better NFL because Dallas Cowboys are back and they're relevant again. And
yes,
it brings out all the haters and it brings out all the bandwagon Cowboy fans that are everywhere. But the bottom line is that it increases interest for everyone, and that's always good for all of us.
I completely agree. Sorry, Zach, I didn't mean to hijack that.
Well, I think we're in a roll here. It's probably better than anything I'm going to ask. So yeah, we'll just go with what we got. Actually, I can't wear this jersey anymore. Unironically, the number 10, which once was a Vince Young and was repurposed as a locker, and now I'm just saying, Titans, can you pretend that number is retired, and don't give it to a practice squad guy every week like the Titans are doing with number 89 and Wycheck. I don't understand that at all. But that's
what
okay.
What about giving it to a defensive player? Now, didn't they? Who was it that they drafted who had been wearing 10 who played defense?
I don't know. I
mean,
saw,
this has been
like,
a few years
in
ago.
college, I know you can wear the same number, one guy in offense, one guy in defense, because they have so many guys, but I mean, we're number 10 defense? I don't know.
Maybe
whoever it is who was low on the
you're right, it may be
chart.
limited to quarterbacks. I know the NFL has some rules about
Some
that.
receivers wear that number, and that confuses me.
Maybe they can assign 10 to the next punter, and then you can just not have to deal with it for the longest time.
There we go. We already had our backup, now possibly third-string quarterback, lose an arm wrestling match for that number 6. So, yeah, this is good. We're going strong. So do you think that the Texans fans believe that they're rebuilding, or they still think, no, we're a playoff squad?
I don't think the smart, educated ones had any real expectations for this season. You start off 2-0 last year, and then you lose 14 straight. I think at that point, when they won a couple games to start with, and when they won their third game, I think everyone thought, okay, this is improvement. So this is the right thing. Unfortunately, when Houston started 3-1, I do think a lot of the people that weren't quite sure that it was done with smoke and mirrors were starting to think, hey, we got a kind of easy schedule down the stretch here. We might be able to contend. But the reality is that the Texans hadn't really beat anybody to get that 3-1. They beat the Raiders. They beat the Bills. Every team they've played so far that's been decent has handled them relatively easily. So, no, I think what people wanted to see here with a new regime was to just show some improvement, show some hustle, and show some heart. And, I think for the most part people would be content with anywhere from 6 to 8 wins, and about halfway into the season, that looks like what we're going to get here.
So you mean like heart and effort and all the things that have been missing from the Titans so far this year? And our new regime, it looks like the same old regime so far?
Yeah, the Titans and the Texans are remarkably similar, don't you think, Jody?
Actually, they are. Even when you look at them from an offensive versus defensive standpoint, they have a lot of similarities. So yeah, I mean, even the very, very tired color schemes that we share in common, unfortunately, which to me, I would actually like to see the Texans, who to me they're a very vanilla team from the standpoint of Bob McNair, the owner. He's very insistent that they put a lot of effort into finding just good guys. They cross a lot of guys off their draft list that might have some character issues, and I don't want to take that away from them. But it's a red, white, and blue team with a horrible local Clay Walker song to kick off the stadium. To kick off every Sunday home game, and you got the red, white, and blue colors. It's just a aw shucks, great, good old boy team. And to me, it's kind of tiring. Like I told y'all a few minutes ago, I really enjoyed the era when the Oilers were hated around the league, when they were known for cheap shots and just really bringing the pain in the Astrodome. And I miss those eras. It's just not necessarily a great time for Houston sports. I know you guys can relate. You've only got your one team out there. Even your Tennessee Vols are in bad shape. But
yeah, they're getting better. But, yeah.
Here in Houston, you got the Astros, who are, the less said about that, the better off we are. And the Texans right now are by far the most popular team in town, as I'm sure any city with an NFL team that's the same. But it's going to be. I think this season they're showing a lot of of improvement, and some of the things that some of the smarter fans should be happy with to see on a field, and it'll be an interesting off season to say the least.
Yeah, I think we missed the good old days where coaches were punching each other and all that stuff. But
when our defensive coordinator was flipping people off, and
if you're gonna do it, Do it on national TV so everyone sees it, because we got something to talk about the next day.
Say it with your chest, right? I mean, yeah, I miss the days of the Tennessee Tyrants and when Tom Brady was whining about the Titans being dirty and, you know, and all of that. So I completely understand what you're saying.
Yeah, the identity is definitely missing, and I think the Titans should do something nice and just hand the Texans over the color scheme, because the Oilers, that color scheme needs to be in the NFL, because another red, white, and blue team will make us go crazy. If there's a new London expansion team and they're red, white, and blue, that's just gonna be crazy. But knowing them, they'll have some kind of Premier League pink thing going on, or they'll have 17 different color schemes. But yeah,
the Oilers Columbia blue always hold a special place in my heart, and I know everyone loves the baby blues that the Chargers wear, but to me they don't compare to the Houston color scheme. And
I agree.
I miss that days.
Yeah, we still use the Columbia blue, and I love it. Yeah, I don't want to ever see that go away. I agree. I love it. I don't like they seem determined to want to wear this crappy all white deal, and it's like the worst thing.
Really, you don't like all white? I gotta tell you, most teams I like when they wear all white. Like to me,
they lose considerably when they wear it too. By the way.
Oh, it's a bad luck thing. I gotcha. Okay. Well, I like the all white scheme for the most part. Like when Houston wears, I think that's actually their best uniform combination. What I generally don't like with teams is when they wear like a white jersey with dark pants. Just something.
Yeah, I don't like that either.
Something's off about that.
Do you like the pajama look that the Texans do? Do you like the all red, like we're getting ready for bed and we're wearing granimals like we're kids or something?
I do not. As you would say, I don't mind.
I don't like it.
I don't mind the battle red, as they call it, and they generally like to trot it out against the Jaguars because they think, well, it's Jacksonville, so let's just wear our red and get everybody fired up and beat them. But I like the red just fine as long as it comes to the white pants. All red, yeah, that's a bit much for me.
I know most people don't like it. I do kind of like it though.
Yeah, the Texans do have a kind of a interesting and slightly strange quarterback situation because they have the beard meister Ryan Fitzpatrick starting, and hey, did you know he's smart? But now they have kind of two strong arm backups. Like, what's the ultimate? What do you think that's going to shake out? You think they're going to play Ryan Fitzpatrick all year? And is it Mallett guaranteed to be the next guy? And is Tom Savage going to be like forgotten? The draft glory guy because everybody liked for some reason.
I don't. At this point, I don't assume you'll see Tom Savage at any time this year, unless things really fall apart or there's some sort of injury situation for the Texans. There's starting to be some call for Ryan Mallett now because they've lost, 3 in a row, 4 out of 5, something like that. So the natives are getting restless, but I don't think Bill O'Brien's about to make a switch anytime soon. The players seem to have Ryan Fitzpatrick support. Like you said, the results for he's having exactly what you would expect out of Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's thrown 8 touchdowns. He's thrown 7 interceptions. You're getting the turnovers. You're getting the inconsistent play that you would expect out of him. I don't think the expectations were high coming into this year. He clearly is a placeholder until they find their next quarterback. Believe it or not, I've already heard some rumors that Jake Locker might find his way to Houston.
I think Jake Locker would be a perfect fit down there.
Well, we'll see. It's all about what the short passing game that Bill O'Brien seems to be wanting to roll out, or I don't know if he's kind of put the reins kind of downgraded him because he's got such a limited quarterback at this point right now. And I do honestly think this is going to be a big off-season transition for the Texans. There's some big-name players on the Texans. I don't expect to be back, and I really think the main problem for Houston has been talent evaluation. And I'm very surprised that they didn't blow out Rick Smith, their general manager, when they decided to move on from Gary Kubiak. To me, it should have been a total house cleaning. I don't know how you keep your GM, who's done such a subpar job, and you blow out your head coach. And most of us think that they should have done both, but. At this point, I think Rick Smith this may be his last year here, so maybe Bill O'Brien can bring in his own player person.
Is Brian Cushing on that list of guys you think are seeing their last playing time for the Texans?
I don't think Brian Cushing is healthy. I don't think he's fully recovered yet. I think the salary cap ramifications would be too hard for them to just cut bait with him. But if that wasn't the case, yes, I do think that this could be it for Cushing. He was a great linebacker, but he's just never recovered from the PED suspension and the multiple injuries he suffered. And we saw how Pittsburgh manipulated that matchup on Monday, having him in coverage against Le'Veon Bell. Cushing is not near the speed. He's just not near the athlete that he was, and he's going to be out this week, and they're pretty much saying that he's probably going to be out until like week 11 or so. So I think that makes me a little more confident that they'll probably bring out Jadeveon Clowney at least partly this week. So Whitney Merciless will probably start, but I think you'll see Brooks Reed kick inside where Cushing was, and that's probably what the defensive alignment we'll see the Houston trot out this week.
Well, you mentioned Jake Locker and the potential of a trade. In that same draft, the Texans ended up with J.J. Watt. So what can't J.J. Watt do? Because it seems like he's scoring touchdowns almost every other week. He's just insanely good, and they line him up all over the field. And I'm kind of afraid with the Titans' offensive line what's going to happen this week.
He can't stay off of local television commercials for more than about 4 minutes. That's about the only thing that man can't do. If you guys saw the local TV, it's just amazing. JJ's managed to sign an endorsement deal with a local grocer that's really big in the state of Texas, and he is on commercials. It's insane. J.J. Watt, I can't say enough good things about him, even beyond his on the field things. He's just such a great guy. He's known to go to the local Pearland High School, which is a community about south of Houston, about 100,000 people. He goes to the local high school football games, and there was a report that he was driving home one day, and he stopped by a junior high, of all things, a junior high football practice. He stopped, got out of his vehicle, and just started talking to the kids, and a parent turned on their phone and recorded it, but he was just telling the kids to do all the right things, to listen to their teachers, listen to their parents, and all that. I mean, the man, he just lives and breathes football. He's a great role model. He's a great guy, and about the only thing, like I said, that he can't do is just stay out of the limelight. And he takes it all in stride, and he's embraced the other teams around town. He's just done everything right, and he's probably, I would say at this point right now, he's probably the most popular Houston athlete probably since, going back to Hakeem Olajuwon. He just has whatever, he has free reign here in Houston.
Yeah, that's the thing I think we're talking about a while back, was like, who's the face of the Titans franchise? I think right now it's the mascot T-Rack. I think that's what we have going for us. So speaking of defense, you mentioned him before. Are you excited? It looks like Jadeveon Clowney is going to start this week, or at least play some. And is that bad news for our rookie quarterback going against him and Watt?
Well, to me it seems like bad news. To me, I think the locals are just expecting, a couple weeks ago before the Texans really started sliding here, everyone just assumed, we're going to sweep the Jaguars and we're going to sweep the Titans, and that'll put us at 6 or 7 wins. Then all we got to do is beat Pittsburgh or one other team, and then we're right there in the playoff chase. That wasn't realistic speaking. But like you said, I think Zach Mettenberger's in some trouble this week. It just seems like you have a team. To me, the Texans and Titans are kind of similar. They're both, mediocre offenses. Houston's a little better running the ball. The Titans are a little better stopping the run, and I really expect it's going to. I don't know. You guys can say more than I am about how ready Mettenberger may be to play. I think he's going to be in trouble. Jadeveon Clowney, it's hard to say if he's going to be ready or not. There's already been some scuttlebutt about him being the kind of guy that doesn't want to play until he's 100%. So natives are getting a little restless about that. But I think it's going to be trouble. You're talking about a subpar offensive line trying to control J.J. Watt. My read on this game is it's going to be trouble for Mettenberger. I did our projections at gridironexperts.com this week, and I have him barely at 200 yards, And to be realistic, I have a couple interceptions for him, even though the Houston doesn't really have what I would call a ball hawking secondary by any means. But it just seems like the kind of situation where your offensive line there in Tennessee is going to have some trouble containing J.J. Watt, and it's going to free up some opportunities maybe for Clowney. It looks like he might be in line to play about half the snaps, and Whitney Merciless kind of showed up on Monday and got his first couple sacks of the year. After that, the Texans don't have a lot to offer when it comes to rushing the passer because you can see their stats. With take aside J.J. Watt's 5 sacks and the fact that Merciless had 2 this Monday, then the next leader on the team has 1 sack. So, it's all J.J. Watt. And like you guys asked earlier, what can he do? You know what? I'm in a stupid fantasy league that's touchdown only, and I have people that actually want to actually pick up J.J. Watt as a player and put him in their lineups because he's already scored 3 times. And
that's funny.
Yeah.
Now, Jonathan Joseph is not going to play, right?
I don't know yet. I haven't heard anything about that. I don't recall hearing that that was going to be an issue.
Who do you think's their better cornerback, him or Kareem Jackson? Just curious.
Well, Kareem Jackson was much maligned his first few years. That poor kid was just getting burned so bad. But each year he's shown a lot of improvement. So at this point right now, I would say Jonathan Joseph probably is overall the better player. Safety's more of a concern for the Texans, especially the free safety position. In a strong safety, you've got DJ Swearinger, who seems more intent on delivering big hits rather than wrapping up, and that's cost the Texans a couple of times this year. But if I had to choose who was the better cornerback, I would say Jonathan Joseph, but it's pretty close.
Now, we have some interesting history in this series. Probably one of the worst games in the series is when the Titans started a rookie, I think it was a 5th-round pick, Rusty Smith, against the Texans, and the Texans' D was really bad, but not that day. And that was, I think, we had not seen much of Rusty Smith after that. So I'm hoping that's not a repeat of history this time. So do you have some favorite memories from this series? The history of the Titans and the Texans. I don't know how many times they played, but it's been quite a few.
Not necessarily. Like I said, as I'm not a diehard Texans fan, it hasn't struck home with me. I do have some, in my circle of friends, I do have some people who are those crazy local Texans fans, and they used to get really excited for the Tennessee game, and they would invite me over. But honestly, I'll say my favorite memory is, you guys will appreciate this, was that overtime game when Vince Young ran that touchdown and came home. I believe that was his first game back in Houston, if I'm not mistaken. And that was a pretty good game back and forth. And if I'm not mistaken, Vince Young came back in overtime and made a long run to a walk-off touchdown run to give the Titans the win. And to me, that had to have made the late Bud Adams extremely happy. And at that time, I still was kind of a Titans fan, and I definitely loved Vince Young. So that felt pretty good because I remember how angry that friend that I mentioned was, and his whole family was pretty upset at that game, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, that was a pretty good one because I think for a while the Titans had the advantage, and then it was like embarrassing if they lost, and now the Texans have kind of passed them. So when we did our interview a while back, you mentioned you're getting into home brewing. So have you taken up that hobby, and have you found the elusive quad IPA that you've been dreaming of?
No, I have not started any home brewing yet, but I do supposedly have a connection for a triple IPA. I believe it was made by Founders. I didn't know anything about it, but I do have a gentleman that actually has recovered me some. So as I'm enjoying the stout that I sent you a few months ago, right? I sent you that, like you mentioned, the beer care package. I wanted to send you some of the Texas Best, but that's what I'm enjoying tonight is my Pumpkinator because I just got my 16 bombers. Even though you're supposed to have an allotment of only 2 per person, I wanted to make sure that I had enough to take care of you and anyone else that might be in the market to look for some. But like you were saying about the IPA, until someone can make that quad IPA, then we're just gonna have to stick with our Imperial IPAs and enjoy those as best we can.
Yeah, I had to make a joke about a quad IPA just because Jody said he liked the doubles, and I'm like, well, there's a double. They got to double the double. We got to go quad. Come on. They have a quadruple, like the Belgian style, and that's pretty strong. So.
Oh, we can only dream. For every Bell's or Pliny the Elder that I opened, you just have that strong aromatic smell and all that hops. There's probably about 8 or 10 subpar IPAs that I open, and I'm just kind of, 3 stars out of 5. It's nothing great. It's just my favorite genre of beer, but,
Well, tell me about that one real quick. This is a beer geek moment. See, I was in San Francisco at a conference last year, and I stopped at like a convenience store, and they had Pliny the Elder, and I remember hearing about that as a famous, beer that's very hard to find and very highly rated. And I had like a sinus infection, so I was sick, and I was in a hotel room that didn't have like a fridge, so I was like, nah. And I was like, man, I missed out. Even if it's not my style, I gotta try it.
Yeah,
So is it worth the hype then? It's all good.
I will say it was a very good IPA. It's probably much better if you get it fresh there in California versus the one that I had, which was probably a couple months old by the time I got it, and it was also shipped from California from a friend of mine out here, so I probably didn't get the full effect. That's one of the beers that people say you need to drink it fresh, and the only one that's evading me right now, and supposedly some of the people on Twitter looking for me, is out of Vermont. It's the Alchemist, the Heady Topper. That's the one I'm after. That's what I got my sights on, and hopefully the people that are supposedly looking for me will actually be able to send it for me. And instead of sending that Pumpkinator 2014 vintage to you, I'll just be sending it to them for the Heady Topper. So, but I can send you some Lone Star Light. I can get that for about $4.99 a 6-pack. So let me know if you're interested.
Do they have a Lone Star Light version, like the icy mango, light with mango? Do they throw fruit in there, or do they not do that in Texas?
No, I think maybe they have like a Lone Star with garlic and
Garlic.
Lone Star with whisker trimmings, and there might be one with some like rat tail parts in there, because the one time I've had to taste that, that's pretty much what it sounded like, or what it tasted like it was made out of. My older brother set me up one time. We were doing pub golf, and to hit the birdie on that hole, you had to just pound a beer. And my brother set me up. I didn't notice until after the fact, but he had the barkeep send me a pretty warm tall boy can of Lone Star, and it didn't go down very well.
Yeah, everybody's got their cheap beer, even though every town I go to now seems to have a very good brewery scene. The cheap stuff still goes. So we've held you up a bit, but why don't you tell us about your work on Gridiron Experts, and you got your rankings going on, and then we can probably ask you who do I start questions, because we're probably needing help at this point. At least I know I am.
Yeah, this has been a bad prep week for me so far. I've been so busy and on the road that I haven't looked at a lot of stuff yet. You know what? I'm struggling with my rankings this year. I'm like hot and cold. On even weeks, I'm great. Like a couple weeks ago, I finished 17th or 16th over at Fantasy Pros, and then I just bombed again last week. So I seem to have a little trouble keeping the momentum going. It seemed so much easier the first year I did it, when I don't know how, but I just walked into that situation, and I was just on fire that year. But this has been such a difficult and unpredictable season with all the injuries and all the first-round busts and all that. It's just, like I said, it's been difficult to adjust to it. And whatever gentleman or lady can come through and finish first at Fantasy Pros this year did an outstanding job as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, last week seemed like a special train wreck, because that was my first. I'm in 5 leagues. I went 0-5. It was just everything went horribly wrong.
I had what I would call a very bad week too. I ran into some bad luck situations where I finished 3rd out of 14 teams in scoring, but still got tagged with a loss because I just happened to be facing the team that scored the first. But what can you do? You're starting Golden Tate and Sammy Watkins at wide receiver. You're going to have a bad day.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah.
So you think that Belichick will give Shane Vereen the ball again 2 weeks in a row? Because I, of course, like a smart guy, benched him last week, and he had like the highest score of his life.
Mm-hmm. All I know about Bill Belichick is that he hates your fantasy team.
Yeah, just me.
And he does not give a damn about what you need or what you're starting. So it would not surprise me in the slightest bit for Brandon Bolden to get 23 carries and punch in 2 touchdowns this week. Now, I'm not saying he's going to, because I really don't think he will. I think Jonas Gray is kind of their short yardage guy for now, but that's just a situation. Shane Vereen's the kind of guy where you just want to start him. I mean, he's got PPR value anyway, but when it comes to the other running back spot, I would just avoid it.
I would too.
He's my running back too this week.
The Patriots have just not been the same since they've had difficulty finding an X receiver. I think Brandon LaFell was underrated. I drafted him in almost every league that I participated in this summer because I thought that he was going to be a significant upgrade over anything else they could trot out there with Aaron Dobson or whoever else they had. And he's come on in the last 2 or 3 weeks, but he's just still not somebody that I'd feel really good about starting and all that. And just when you thought, hey, they're going back to more of a 2-offense thing with Tim Wright and Rob Gronkowski's getting healthy, they pulled out the rug from underneath us, and here's Tim Wright getting 1 target or 2 targets. You just don't know what to think for that team. Tom Brady's played better, and he's starting to redeem some of his value, but I don't feel good. I do feel good about starting Shane Vereen, in particular in the PPR, but other than that, it's just a big headache.
That is true. So what do you think about the game this week, the Titans-Texans? How do you think it's going to go, and what do you be drinking during the game?
Oh, probably nothing. I don't like to drink early Sunday until, I'm just saying that because my wife might be watching.
Okay.
Honestly, I'm the kind of person that generally likes to take underdogs, but in this game, with a rookie quarterback starting, with Jadeveon Clowney possibly coming back, Arian Foster, I think is going to be heavy. He's going to be one of my top 2 or 3 fantasy options this week. I actually would think at this point that the Texans are going to win the game and cover. It's just the way I see it. You can never really count on Houston scoring more than 20 or 23 points. The only time they're going to do that is if J.J. Watt or one of the defensive players gets into the end zone. They don't have the kind of offense that's set to score very many points. Like we mentioned earlier, the Texans are much, much better at running the ball than they are passing the ball, and Bill O'Brien knows that, and he'll try to keep the ball into Arian Foster's hands. I believe I called this game something, this was before I heard that Mittenberger starting, but I thought I called it something like 20-13, something like that, and you might see Houston bump up the scoring now up to maybe 23-17, something like that. But if I had to say, a pretty low score game, but I think that the Texans will probably pull it out.
Yeah, I guess the Titans are going to be definitely low in the over-under. So is there going to be a sequel to Welcome to the Machine? Are you going to have?
I've started thinking about it. The combination of trying to explain to people the personal part of how I got into football and how it mattered so much to me, that seemed to be a lot of appealing to people. But where I left off the book on purpose was the season before I finally won, and that would make for a really interesting chapter in itself. Would be my first ever fantasy championship, which would be thanks to one Emmitt Smith, who will always go down as my absolute favorite fantasy football player on the backs of, at that time, which was an NFL record. I think he scored 20 or 22 touchdowns, but I always loved that man. But I might have to tone down some of the personal stuff, in the potential sequel, because it starts to get a little rated PG-13, where I tried to keep the, the first volume, family friendly. But it's in the hamper.
That's a Welcome to the Machine. That is Jody Smith, an ebook about his fantasy football journey, and I think y'all should check it out because us ebook writers should stick together.
Absolutely.
For half a beer, approximately.
And I'm honored to have been in your second version with your interviews. And I wanted to, if I haven't thanked you for having me be part of that, I really wanted to say again that it was awesome to talk with you on football. And we've done these hangouts several times, and it's always good to talk to you. And I'm glad that we're able to get together. And when we talk football, that there's no ugliness between us.
Yeah, why would they be? Only if you're in the league with me and crushing me. But I probably still would respect you for, showing me the way. I lost to an expert, man. It's okay.
I also think that you understand that, if you were to hurt my feelings in any way and insult anything that mattered to me, that you're not going to be getting another one of these.
Yeah, exactly.
I mailed to you there in Georgia, so.
Did I mention Jody Smith's the best? I'm already every time I go to a liquor store around me, I'm trying to find local beer that's high on hops. There's one from Terrapin in Athens. It's like fresh and local or green or something, and it's basically like hops they got from Washington State, and it's like drink it as soon as possible. So I'm like, sure, that's a good one. Any beer that I wouldn't like, because I don't really like IPAs, I'm like, oh yeah, send it his way.
Yeah, definitely.
So, Sharona, any more questions? Any more Texans, Titans talk, or anything you wanted to bring up, or are you all good?
Do you think that Ryan Fitzpatrick is looking at this legitimately like it's some sort of revenge game?
Nah, I think as a career
think so either.
I think as a career journeyman like him, he's had so many destinations, and that it's just not that big of a deal. I think he's a smart enough guy where he understands what his role is, and he didn't seem to bring any extra motivation when he played the Bills. I know that the Texans squeaked out that win there, but it didn't seem to be discussed or to be a factor at all that week. So no, I don't really think that's really a factor. And hopefully he understands what his job to do, and that's to hand the ball to Mr. Foster. And that's about the best way that the Texans are going to get a win, because the more times he drops back and passes, the more we're going to have the Fitzpatrick shenanigans that I'm sure you guys are all too familiar with.
Fitzmagic.
Very familiar.
Quickly turns to Fitztragic.
Fitztragic.
We've been there before.
Yes, you have.
Fitzmagic gives, Fitzmagic takes.
Exactly. Well,
seems like there's a lot more take in that relationship than giving, isn't it?
Definitely.
The take always comes at the most heart-crushing moments, too.
He's got a skill, doesn't he?
He has a skill.
He does have a nice beard, though.
He's got the boss beard, but I got to tell you, Zach Mettenberger is definitely challenging him on the hair.
I saw that. I like the Saturday Night Fever headband. That's pretty sharp.
The headband was a nice touch.
Yeah, he doesn't.
I'm hoping that Fitzpatrick participates in No Shave November, because
it could get fantastic.
Yes.
He's participating in No Shave this decade. I think that's pretty much where we are. So. Well, Jody, thanks for being on the show. Everybody go to gridironexperts.com to see what he's up to in terms of rankings. And, of course, Jody Smith NFL. He's one of those annoying guys who likes to change his Twitter handle, I think just to mess with me. But it's Jody Smith NFL, because otherwise, those other Jody Smiths would try to get some credit. But you see behind him, I think the trophy is behind you to your left. The Fantasy Pros, is that the one? Next to the Oilers? Because I actually got that in our interview.
Yeah, that's what
there you go.
It's lovely.
that's actually my featured location. Yeah.
That is very cool.
That's actually my favorite team.
That is very.
I actually
cool.
love their. They did the bluer ones in the '70s and the silver ones.
Yeah.
I kind of like those throwback ones as well. And the oil derrick is great.
It's like the goofy Denver Bronco from that time too. It's just a little fun,
Yeah, now it's very corporate or designed by someone who's never watched a football game. So we're gonna keep talking just a little bit, Jody. If you want to drop off, that's cool. If you want to watch the game and all that, but thanks for coming on. It's cool to talk football and Titans, Texans, but then football's part of that, so that's good.
Thanks for having me, guys. And like I said. Hey, good luck to your Titans this week. It won't bother me in the slightest if they win the game. So may the best team win.
Thanks, Jody.
Exactly. Well, thanks a lot.
Cheers.
Yeah, exactly. Cheers to us. All right, Sharona. So with our time that we have remaining.
First of all, I have to say something, Zach. I want to apologize to you for being sick last week, forcing you to do a going for one. And let you know that I missed the show, even though I was laid up on the couch and basically incapable of moving very much. But so I'm happy to be back this week and relatively healthy.
Can't be injured by conventional weapons, right?
Yeah, right.
I mean, the show last week was literally me talking for about 5 minutes, and then I did the Know Your Enemy with Carl, and then I was done. So it was not exactly, it wasn't the same, I'll put it that way.
Should we tell everybody what we're going to do next week during the bye?
What are we going to do next week during the bye?
We're going to do a hate-off. Zach and I are going to do a hate-off. I am going to challenge. Sharona is challenging Zach for the title.
Yeah, I was going to say we need a, who's more of a hater competition, because I actually am in favor of this move, the whole Mettenberger thing, because it's basically, this is the traditional new coach thing. Let's get rid of all the guys that aren't my guys, and let's play my guys, who are, of course, including the draft picks from this year. So, yeah, I think they're going to start. And like 4 draft picks going to start, and about 5 of the draft picks are playing. I'm not sure what happened with the guy from Penn State, if he's actually still in the roster, because I'm not sure if he's been active. But
Jaquan?
Yeah, other than him,
no, he's playing.
Everybody's playing a lot. I mean, we got Huff playing special teams and some safety. And then we have Taylor Lewan starting, for better or worse, although it sounds like he's actually playing pretty well compared to the rest of the offensive line. I mean, seriously. Bishop Stanky does his I'm learning to tap dance move, but he's getting touches, although I'm a little afraid with Sean Green back. Oh, let's give Sean Green some touches, yeah.
Well, they seem to be, Leon Washington seems to be their third down back right now, so who knows, right?
It is confusing, and then this week they had to bring Antonio Andrews up. I think that's his correct name, because he was on the practice squad, and I think the Bills were on to sign him. So now they have 27 running backs on the roster approximately. And I just love and hate that short yardage thing they do with Jackie Battle, just because it puts Carl Klug in at fullback, and I just like Carl Klug, just a good name.
I love Carl Klug.
But we're going all in with the rookies, and I mean, Avery Williamson playing inside linebacker, because it doesn't seem like the Titans have anybody who can play 3-4 except Jarrell Casey. Basically, wherever you line up, he's going to be fine, but everybody else seems to be struggling with it. So that's
Wesley
good.
Woodyard's playing pretty well. I don't understand why people are hating on him.
Because he can't really tackle, and that's what you need to do when you're a linebacker. Just saying. Or maybe I have a Delaney Walker thing with him, where every time I see him, he's not making the play. Like every time I see Delaney Walker, he's dropping it, although I'm over the Delaney thing. Of course, he's kind of not done so well the last few weeks because
it's because teams
sucks. That's why.
Teams are
Whitehurst is your quarterback.
Well, my teams are keying on him, and they don't really have anybody else besides maybe Kendall Wright, who, is a good player, but does maddening things like sidestep out of bounds when he could easily pick, he could have probably juked the guy out of his shorts and maybe even scored, but I'm going to just sidestep out of bounds.
Yeah, that was, I think Greg Cosell was on some Nashville radio station. He was talking about the Titans, and he said that Kendall Wright, all he did was run east-west. And I was like, imagine if Kendall Wright ran all the patterns that T.Y. Hilton ran. Do you think maybe just because he's number 13? I think he could do it. He's got speed. He was a deep threat at Baylor. It's just like, we got to throw him a 2-yard pass, and he's going to run 50 yards sideways and get tackled. Oh, we broke him. I was also thinking, and we'll see if you like this idea, because the Titans are so bad, maybe we should join the bandwagon of another team. So we could try a division a week and talk about those teams. Obviously, we can't root for anybody in the AFC South, and we probably shouldn't because they're not very good. I don't care what you say about the Colts; they're still not that good.
No,
Teams
I
that win the
don't
Super
think
Bowl
they're
and go
that,
16-0 and don't get
I don't
scored
think they're
on
that
much
good
that they suck.
either. I don't think any team in the AFC South is very good.
That is true. And of course, one more idea, and this is probably really horrible, but they do this thing on the internet called mansplaining, where men tell the
Oh
world
God.
what they think about things. So I thought Sharona could do a womansplaining because she had a tweet today that broke my brain. She mentioned something about wanting to attend, I think, the press conference today for the Titans, and that she'd trade her right lady parts to be there, and that definitely confused my caveman brain a little bit.
Well, we women like to keep you guys on your toes, and we like to do these little brain experiments just to make
Yeah.
sure that everything's still twisting and turning in there, churning. And so, that's basically, that was my mission in life, was to tweet that and confuse you, Zach, so mission accomplished.
Yeah. And okay, we're gonna try one of those tests. They do the ink blot test, and they let you react. I'm just gonna say a couple words, and you go ahead and react, or have a drink because you're gonna need it. Akeem Ayers, go.
Screwed.
I mean, that was the. I don't know. I feel like he was a good player, but they just couldn't get him on the field, so. It's like, well, they got something rather than nothing, and really they didn't really get anything, because trading from a 7th-round pick to a 6th-round Patriots pick, I mean, that could be like one pick, the way things are going.
No, they basically didn't get anything. That's true. What they did, the deal was they traded for a 6th-round, the Patriots 6th-round draft pick, but as part of that, they swapped 7th-rounders, and so marginally maybe, but here's the thing, and this is what got me all along, and it still gets me. There's value to having good players on your roster, and the Titans.
I'm not sure if the Titans brain trust agrees with that. Oh, sorry.
Well, I don't know that the brain trust does either, but I'm talking to smart people and not dumb people who don't get it, and so. For the Titans, their linebacking depth is already thin, and I never understood why Quentin Groves was getting playing time over Akeem Ayers, but even regardless of that, you've got a Patriots team that needs linebacking help, and you're wanting to to make the move anyway. Are you telling me that's the best that you can do? I don't think other teams in the league respect the Titans front office. I don't. Because the Patriots regularly screw them on things like this, and they screwed them this time too.
Well, Jenny made a good point that about the Texans. They got a new coach, but they kept the same general manager. And I think the Texans, I don't know what draft was it, last year, the year before, and they only have 2 guys left from that class. I think the Titans could have, moved on in general manager land too, because they hadn't exactly, swept up, especially when, you get second round picks like Akeem Ayers, and then Mike Martin has trouble being active, and I keep hearing about how great he is, but he doesn't get on the field for some reason. He can't make the cut. Oh,
Well,
my cat wants to be a star.
They've got a lot of bodies at defensive line, which is,
We have bodies.
kind of weird. I mean, because, you're seeing Al Woods is only getting maybe 10 or 12 snaps. He's a guy. Hi, kitty. So, hi, kitty.
He says, I agree, Akeem Ayers. Free Akeem Ayers. Hashtag.
So, anyway, it wouldn't shock me to hear tomorrow that the Titans had traded Jake Locker to the Texans or whoever for a 6th or a 7th round draft pick, because that would be the kind of dumb move that they would do.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the Texans, just because they traded a 7th round pick for Mallet, so it's really hard to tell who's their number 2 anyway. But So what do you think about these rumors have been talking about guys getting cut and released, like Michael Griffin or Nate Washington, Wesley Woodyard? I was kind of surprised they got something for Akeem Ayers, but I don't think they're going to be able to, trade any other guys for anything of value anyway.
Nobody's trading for Mike Griffin because nobody wants that contract, and I don't anticipate.
Yeah, that'd be a dream.
And I don't anticipate that Mike Griffin wants to rework that contract. I would not recommend that he do it unless it was a situation that was extremely. I just don't see that happening. I'll just put it that way. Nate Washington has a similar situation. He's making $4.25 million this year. I forget how much longer he's got on his contract. And then Wesley Woodyard.
They just signed him.
The indictment on the brain trust, as you call it, is it that they
brain trust? Once again, we'll do the little this big.
Might possibly be looking to deal. Regardless, he's one of their better defensive players. He's been wearing the defensive mic, although they've let Avery Williamson share a little bit in that.
Feeling good, huh? Well, let's do something that'll make you feel even better about this week. So, I read a post on the Titans, the Music City Miracle from Superhorn, and here's a paragraph. This is just a paragraph about Zach Mettenberger. Let's just read it, and then we can talk.
Okay.
Weighted against that were a number of red flags. As a freshman at Georgia, he pleaded guilty to sexual battery for inappropriately grabbing a girl at a bar. He also tore his ACL and sprained his MCL in his final season at LSU. Allegedly, as part of his rehab, he was required to drink lots of fluid. This led to a diluted urine sample at the combine, which the NFL considers a failed drug test. Finally, he has a back condition called spondylosis. You should not try to pronounce that after 2 beers.
Spondylolisthesis.
There you go. Which is a degenerative.
Well, there's actually 2 different ones. I'm not
spine.
sure. He's awfully young to have. Does he have spinal stenosis or spondylolisthesis?
There's no thesis. There's a lysis at the end. It's spondylolisthesis. Okay. A degenerative spine condition, which sounds bad for somebody who's going to get hit a lot on Sunday. Pre-draft, some said Mettenberger was red flagged for this issue. So, yeah. I think I know why he was a 6th-round pick, just because there was off-the-field concerns, and there was the maybe he's not that good concerns, but in a way, isn't he the post-Warner kind of Wisenhunt type, because he's basically a statuesque kind of pocket passer, which is not really what a lot of teams are looking at, but he does have a good arm, though, right? Sort of. When he doesn't get sucker punched by Alabama fans at a bar, which is another rumor.
We think he does. We'll see.
Gosh. Oh, boy. So I have one NFL question for you.
Okay.
And we'll see if this joke works or not. When the New Orleans Saints do a blackout on Sunday, will they be black enough?
Oh, God. Zach. We actually talked about that on the radio show this morning. And,
hashtag narrative, by the way.
And I just have to say that whole narrative is the most irritating thing. As if anybody can define what that means.
Yeah, let's just say the whole race thing is kind of made up anyway. So let's, to say that somebody needs to be a certain way because of that just doesn't sound like the kind of conversation. It sounds like the kind of stuff they talk about on ESPN, though, based on our chat on the Zone Blitz show.
No doubt.
It gives you stuff to talk about every day, which would probably make me sadder than watching the Titans. So, but I was in a place where I didn't have to watch it, and I'm probably, I don't know, I maybe ended up in a sports bar this week because my usual hangout is not happening. So we'll see. But
what happened to your usual hangout?
Well, usually I go to my friend Don's house, and he had the Sunday ticket, but he got rid of it. So last Sunday I saw him for the first time since the first week. And the first week they give you, they give you the taste, they give you the free everything. And then he didn't have anything, so we were watching the really bad Falcons game to start, so that didn't go well. And I didn't see anything from the Titans game, and I'm glad it didn't, because watching Pierre Garçon run past Michael Griffin like we're in a Pee Wee game was not fun. Colt McCoy, yeah, that was harsh.
Championship.
So yeah, he's apparently got some other things going on, so I gotta figure out. I may end up in a sports bar or something. But my big exciting thing is this weekend I'm gonna get a new grill. So
you're finally getting the grill. All right.
I don't know. It's Big Green Egg or Kamado Joe. I'm thinking it's probably gonna be Big Green Egg. I'm going name brand. I'm going charcoal. This Saturday's the 11th wedding anniversary for me, so I think that's a good day to buy a grill. Yeah, we got married on the Titans bye week in whatever 11 years ago is, 2003, and strangely they don't have that same bye every year. It's a twist of fate. I know how people get upset about, you shouldn't get married during football season, and probably not, but we had to get hitched. I wanted to do it before she changed her mind, so that was a very important thing. So there's actual live NFL action. So Sharona, what else you got? What's happening with you? What's up with all your shows and podcasts and articles and all that good stuff?
I'm struggling to get caught back up from being off a week and being sick. So I did my recap this week. That's been posted. I did my NFL female article today, by the way, repping the sisterhood. And then so tomorrow I'll work on and do my previews, and then this weekend I'm finishing up a very special project for me, and hopefully that's going to get published next week, and I'll be excited maybe to talk about it.
Yeah, you like to not give up the goat on what's happening. That's all right. We'll get caught up.
Like you already know. I sent it to you. You've already read it.
I know. I'm good. I don't talk. I'm not a snitch. I ain't no snitch. So, yeah.
Stitches are for snitches. I was going to totally mess that up, but I finally got it.
So this week, fantasysports.org, I did the week that was, kind of a weekly recap, where I did 7 lists of 7, because that's something nobody's ever thought of before. And I did a podcast recap of Steve Gallo and the guys at the Huddle do a podcast called Blitz Podcast. It includes an interview with a brewer every week, because they have a beer guy on there, which I respect. And they had the former Broncos GM, oh yeah, just like the same level of guests I always get on my podcast, but they're cooler. People we bring on are way cooler than any GM in NFL, whatever. Probably doesn't even drink during a podcast. Lame. So I'm thinking of doing an article about kind of looking at dynasty teams and where they stand, because I did a dynasty mock draft in July, and kind of seeing where that team would be now if it were a real team. And I'm saying I'd have really good receivers, and the rest would be kind of but that's okay.
So pretty typical, eh?
Yeah. Well, it was it was including rookies, and I think I took 6 rookie wide receivers, which looks really good now. I drafted Sammy Watkins, Mike Evans, Devontae Adams, and Allen Robinson. Those are the rookies I took. So
there you go.
And I made a back-to-back Titans pick of Bishop Sankey and Kendall Wright in the 4th and 5th, which we'll see. I feel better. It's always go young when in doubt. So. Anyway, so Sharona, you find her on Sports by Sharona on the Twitters, and she's at 100,000 tweets. I will never catch her.
I know.
I'm so high that I can't even breathe in that level of oxygen. I'm at 53,000, yeah, and that seems like a lot. But hey, she has stuff to say, unlike me usually.
Stuff to say.
And so Zach _Law on the Twitters is how to find me, and there's apparently football on, so I want to get caught up. And I guess I'll be answering the questions people ask me on Twitter about fantasy really quickly. I hope no one asks me about tonight's game, because I said, hey, the game's tonight. I probably won't have time to answer before the game. So probably a bad sign for my fantasy team. I'm on 5 teams, and only 2 Broncos skill position players out of all those teams. That's not good. It's not good.
I don't have any Broncos. Last year, my Best team was mostly a lot of Broncos players. I do not have. I had Monty Ball. I think I dropped him.
Yeah, I think he's been well dropped. It's Hillman time, everybody. Oh, C.J. Anderson. Oh, so sad. I had him on my dynasty team. I was dreaming that he was going to be the guy, but no. He brought John Fox the wrong donuts, so he doesn't get the starting job. So sad. That's not a thing? It's not a thing. Anyway. So, thanks, Sharona, for coming by. Playing through the pain.
Thanks for having me.
Drinking through the pain.
Yeah, we'll have to get one of those T-shirts and wear it that says, this team makes me drink.
I was going to wear it back on my head, but I didn't have time to cut the holes in it. I'm sorry, are you going to be at the game this Sunday? You going to be there? No? No,
I don't think so.
As will most of Nashville. All right. Well, thanks, Sharona, and of course, thanks to Jody Smith for showing up, because he's awesome, and he sends me beer, so I need to send him beer.
Thanks, Jody.
And as we'd like to say, good night and good luck, and hopefully you get to watch another game besides Titans-Texans on Sunday. Right?
All right.
Good.
Bye-bye.
Beer means happiness.